Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Family Time. It is January 31, and I'm hoping that your year has been going well thus far. Hmm, you know, I'm remembering or just realizing that I haven't been here with you since 2022 has started. So, although it's the last day of January, Happy New Year to you. And since February is just around the corner, Happy February to you too. Once again, this is Family Time. Welcome to all of our viewers and listeners joining us across the various platforms, whether via radio at Love 101 FM or YouTube Live or via Facebook. Welcome to you all. This is Family Time, but as you know, this is about your issues and your relationships. It's about your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and at Family Time, our aim is really to enable healthy families because we all know healthy families lead to healthy nations. I'm Sir Twain. Please stay with us. I'm Begano. Join in. We love to hear from you. Your participation makes this show even better. Here's a question for you right as we are off the bat. Are you human? Hmm. Well, if you are, then I'm sure that you have experienced the emotion of anger. I don't think, not sure my angry face came off well, but let's see how that goes as we go throughout the show. Another question. Are you a man? If you are, listen up. According to the research, so this isn't me, according to the research, and we're quoting from choosingtherapy.com, the research shows that men and women become angry at approximately the same rate. Who'd have known? We're not that bad as men, are we? Right. But there's more. However, men tend to express their anger more outwardly and in more aggressive ways, like yelling, hitting, swearing. All of a sudden, it doesn't really feel so comfortable anymore. And I'm wondering, shouldn't I have allowed a woman to host this show? But before I get up into all my feelings, let me just say that in this sense, clearly, men are more likely to have anger issues than women are. Men, we have to work on that. Why is this so? That is one of the big questions. What triggers anger in an angry man? How do you react? That's one of the questions we want you to explain or answer for us. So tell us, what triggers the violent side of your anger? WhatsApp those texts and voice notes. And you remember, voice notes should be no longer than 30 seconds. You can use the number 876-997-3125, or you can call the studio lines at 876-968-32, 8327 or 8328. You can also comment on the Facebook page, and you may also leave us your regards and your comments on YouTube as we go live. Remember that this is the question: what triggers the violent side of your anger? That's what I want to look at today. Tell us about your experiences. Throughout the program, we will share what you share. So please continue with that sharing as you've been doing all the weeks prior. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. I'm Sir Twain, and this is Family Time.
For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey.
If one thing I love about Grace Mackerel is that the sauce rich in quality. Trish from Papine said that. The time by Grace Mackerel is
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One. February 1, 2 o'clock will be time for Prayer Blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence. Sister Vanessa joins us to share her powerhouse testimony of God's consistent provision. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with author, certified life coach, marriage officer, public theologian, and investment consultant, Reverend Teddy Asiel Jones. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the Family Station, ranking number 4 in the extensive local radio landscape and number 1 in gospel. Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101, all the platforms, Facebook and YouTube, as well as radio. Welcome to our special guest, Feliciano Thorpe. So, Feliciano Thorpe is a counselor, tutor of psychology, and a mental health advocate, and a bearded man as well. How are you, sir?
How you do? Nice seeing you.
I'm doing well. So, now remember, everybody, we want to hear from you. Your participation really helps to make the program have a buzz, make it pop. So, let's hear what you have to say with regard to this question. What triggers the violent side of your anger? Send your WhatsApps, whether via text or voice notes, no longer than 30 seconds, to 876-997-3125. As you watch us live on Facebook or YouTube, you may also leave your comments. You can also leave your comments or talk to us rather on the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 8328. And throughout the program, we will share what you share. So, Sir Thorpe, how are
Yes,
you?
sir. I am very good. Thankful to be on the
Very good.
program and thankful to have made it on the program.
Yes, we're definitely happy to have you. And even as you're welcome here, I know that there's a batchmate of yours who said, give him a shout out for me. So that would be from Christopher Douglas. He asked me to shout you out, so I'm giving you that
Oh,
shout out right there.
oh, hail up Christopher Douglas. Yes,
All
yes,
right. So, first question.
yes.
What is anger?
Million dollar question, huh? Million
Yes.
dollar question. It's a question that so many people have tried to answer, including psychologists. And anger is really an emotional state. It's a feeling. It's how we feel when we feel a perceived threat. All right. Anger is it's a natural response. So let's just lay that foundation. Anger is a natural, even healthy emotion. It has been demonized for years because of its negative aggression and violence. But anger is a normal, healthy emotion that God has given us, just like happiness, just like sadness, just like distrust, and all those wonderful emotions. The problem happens when we do not know how to control or to manage our anger.
So I can put everybody at ease because anger is natural.
Yes, it's not the major problem. It's
It's not the major problem.
how we become a good steward of this emotion called anger. Just like how we have to be a good steward of happiness, we have to be a good steward of all these wonderful emotions that God has blessed us with. So it's about being a good steward of that emotion because it can be used in such wonderful ways to fight for ourselves and to fight for our families and to fight against injustice, which is so much in our world today. Yes.
Okay. Speaking about stewardship and the fact that God has blessed us with these emotions, did Jesus get angry? He's a man. I'll take comfort if you tell me yes. So, did Jesus get angry?
Well, that is very explicit in the scriptures. I'm wondering if we could deal with Jesus when he get angry because so many of us have this idea of Jesus in our mind that is not the real Jesus. Because here Jesus is turning over tables, whipping people. And why was he doing it? He was doing it because of the injustice. The Pharisees at the time was not um, ministering to the people and doing the right thing and holding back the poor and holding us back from experiencing the blessing of God. And Jesus got angry about that. And that is something to be angry about. And that is a good way to deal with your anger. That's injustice. So yeah, but people might say today, he's violent.
I was about to ask you about that violence side because as you reminded
Yeah.
me that the scripture is really full of these experiences where Jesus, showed great emotion, anger being one of them. That whipping that we have there, would that have been the violent side of Jesus? Violent side of his anger?
I think he's more operating in love because love says that love says it's slow to anger. Didn't say it didn't get angry. Love says it is slow to anger. And if you love something, you're going to protect it. And one of the emotions that God has given us to protect those we love is anger. It
Ah.
is.
So, for example, a husband could look at his wife and say, you don't want to say, don't get angry because this anger is what I may definitely have to draw on for protection of our family or children. So, encourage the anger at certain stages. Is that something that a husband could say to his wife?
Well, a husband, because culturally we have demonized anger and we have constantly said, do not get angry. Anger is a bad emotion. Many of us have not learned the skills, the self-regulation skills to be a good steward of this wonderful, amazing emotion. So we have developed very negative idea of anger. And as a result, most of us, all we have learned is to suppress it or to try and hide how we feel about situations. And as a result, we have developed unhealthy coping mechanism in dealing with anger. So a lot of us, when situation arise and our anger gets the best of us, because we have not trained, developed those self-regulation skills to really hone that emotion instead of allowing it to become destructive in that situation or harmful.
Okay. So you mentioned that anger needs to be trained or response toward anger. So I'm guessing you're leaning towards saying that, there are positives to this. For example, it triggers us to protect others. Are there
Yeah.
any other positives about anger that we can look at?
Yes, man. Anger help us to pursue our goals. For example, let's use a simple scenario. Maybe you weren't doing particularly well in a subject in class and they started to laugh after you. And you got angry about it. And then it kind of give you that energy to say, hey, maybe I need to look at how I can really become better at this subject. So people can leverage that power, that powerful emotion, and use it to drive, to help them to attain their goals. So anger can be a positive emotion compared to what some people think. All right? Because I want us to look at anger this way. Anger is like fire. Don't we have done wonderful things with fire? We cook the nice Sunday dinner. We keep ourselves warm with fire, but then fire
Yes.
can become what? Destructive. It can destroy many things. But under a controlled environment like the gas stove that we use, it can become such a wonderful thing. We cook with dinner every night. It's the same way you can look at anger. So anger can help us to pursue our goals. Anger makes us aware of the injustice in our world. That's one of the most potent things about anger because if you see the injustice and you don't get angry, I would say something maybe is kind of not too right with you. You know what I'm saying? So it makes us very aware and want to do something to change that. So we get angry about it and we say it helps us. Another thing with anger, it can help us to create and solve problems. Yes, it can. Because you see that somebody's taking advantage of the poor, and you probably is going to create a feeding program, or you maybe write an article in the Gleaner talking about that situation and how we need to protect the poor of the poor, or you write a blog, or you create this program to make an awareness of how the poor is being treated, or how women is being treated. So anger can do that as well. So those are some of the positive sides of anger and how you can leverage it. I've used anger personally, like when people underestimate me.
Ah,
Yeah,
motivation.
and I get angry. I don't really express it outwardly, but I say, okay, watch me and I say, watch me and man. And so I turn all that anger and rage and I put it into something constructive and it becomes something beautiful. So that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
from what you've said, the proverb comes from the Jamaican saying, "A fire is a bad master, but it's a good servant." And I'm seeing that's what you're saying about anger. Anger is good when you are using it, but it's bad when anger is controlling you.
Yes. Anything is bad if it's controlling. Anything. And anger is no different. I mean, if your belly controls you, you know. So it's just like anger. I mean, if you don't develop your self-regulation skills, in learning how to deal with anger and how to use it, it can become a serious problem to you personally. You can harm yourself.
Mhm.
You can harm others. You can destroy your reputation. You can sabotage relationships. You can even hurt the very ones you love so much. So yes, so anger, um, if you haven't learned the coping skills, definitely you're on a path of self-destruction.
All right. So we have a voice note. I'll take that voice note. Thank you all for the participation. It seems that we're getting right off the bat.
I think more likely when people get angry because it triggers some memory, some past of what they've done or what's have happened to them. So they don't get over it. So they just get angry. One thing something is said to them, they are triggered off by it.
Definitely, definitely. And I want to touch that a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, Trauma is one of those things that can make us get angry. And if there's something called trauma genesis, where our brain, our body, because the body does keep scores of how you're being treated. Our body is like well, not really a computer, maybe far more advanced. But our body keep these memories and these feelings, these emotions of how we felt during that traumatic experience. And even though trauma and anger is two different things, it can activate whenever we're in a particular situation, and we might appraise that situation as being threatful, and our body, because there's a physio, there's a what they call a neuroscience of anger, the physiological aspect of anger, and our body operates like we are threatened,
Mhm.
literally threatened. And but the situation that you might be in might not be really as a real threat, but the body feels so and perceives so, and you operate in that way, and your anger can get out of control in that kind of situation.
All right. So, everyone, you are listening to Family Time, and we are dealing with the topic of anger. And we're zeroing in on anger in men. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned. Remember to send your comments via all our platforms: YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, as well as calling. The numbers will be repeated, and for those watching on YouTube and Facebook, the numbers are going across your screen. So, Sir Thorpe,
Yes.
let's zero in on anger in men.
Okay.
Why is it that men, though they get angry at approximately the same rate as women, why
Mhm.
is the violent response, the hitting, the swearing, why is that more manifested in men and not women?
Number one, are the way we are cultured. Um, Society really didn't teach us many times how to control this emotion. We only knew that it was bad, and because we knew it was bad, that's all we knew. And we didn't develop healthy ways and constructive. Because most men, women on the other one, the research is basically saying that it's on the same level. Both male and female do get angry. But what the difference with men is that men are not very proactive in dealing with their anger like women. Women find a friend and then go sit down and then talk and then take out them emotions. A man, he's not necessarily in that doing that. He doesn't really want to talk about it, and he more sometimes suppresses anger. So when that start, like a volcano, it's kind, 1 minute it keep on going until one day, boom. So he might not be as proactive as a woman in solving his anger issues, and that is one of the reasons why there's a stereotype. So even though men and women, yes, same level based upon the research, it's no different. But men, I believe, culturally has been taught, and to certain emotions were not just to express, so we hide these emotions. And so also culturally, we feel that being angry is a man thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Man,
does seem that way.
sometimes it's seen that way, do your face a certain way, being that angry, intense mode as a man. 'Cause some man fi look and some man fi talk, and we develop a learned style of anger as well from other men in how we deal with situations. And so I think that is one of the issue as well.
So is it that because you mentioned that sometimes we steam or stuff? When I get angry, because I was thinking about it when I was coming onto the show, and I was thinking, what do I do when I get angry? And I think I take some time to kind of process. Um, would that be considered steaming? Would I be stewing in my anger if I take a little time to figure out what I'm supposed to do or feel before I do anything? Or should my
No, that
response be
is
measured and I know what to do automatically?
no, that is called assertive anger.
Ah,
There are three types of anger that people usually operate. You have the passive aggression anger. That is when you can become silent and sulking, procrastinating, trying to sabotage. You know, it's a need to control. The sulking. So it's very passive in nature. Then you have the open aggression form of anger, where that is the part that everybody is what you're highlighting. Everybody knows more and sees it. It doesn't look good. It's out of control. It can become destructive. And then you have the assertive anger, like what you're talking about. What is happening is your prefrontal cortex. You have trained yourself so much that your prefrontal cortex, the logical aspect of you, is more dominant. So you took some time to think this thing through, how you're thinking creative ways how to solve it. Because when you get angry, there's a little part in your brain called the amygdala. And that is like a threat. It's a threat response in your body. It tells you that you're in danger. And anger responds like anger is a defense mechanism, natural defense mechanism. And so if that part of your brain, literally what it does, it shut down your prefrontal cortex, your logical thinking, and all of these emotions and hormones are being pumped into your body because your body is going into defense mode, survival. And what happens is that everything becomes a focus, and this is why when somebody gets angry, they are just speaking and cussing, and they're just in this emotional hyper moment. They're just talking and focusing. And usually, if you maybe ask them in that moment why they're angry, they can't really tell you because they're not thinking very clearly in that heat of the moment. And that's what's actually happening.
so question. Does it feel like men are angrier today than they were in the past? And if so, why?
Um, I'm a lover of history. I don't feel so. I just think because social media is now more prominent and we're on all these platforms and we're seeing far more and hearing far more. I don't really believe so, but I do believe that there's far more things to be stressful about, and stress can lead to anger, and a lot of men are going under a lot of stress. And the way we handle it as men, many times, a lot of men don't maybe have any outlet, and maybe the outlet they have are not very constructive. Like drinking a lot is not very constructive, and they don't have anybody to really. And then when it comes to mental health, men don't like to feel like they are crazy or psycho. And culturally, as Black people, mental health, going for counseling might not be the first thing that comes to a man's mind to help him to unpack whatever is causing him to be angry. So these are some of the issues.
So there's a lot more to unpack in this discussion, and we want for you to rejoin us after this break. But before we go, here are the lines, the studio lines for calling us, as well as the other information for giving your comments and for participating in the show. Send those WhatsApps. Voice notes must be no longer than 30 seconds to 876 997 3125. Comment on our YouTube or Facebook platforms, and you can call the studio lines at 876 968 8327 or 8328. We're talking to Feliciano Thorpe. We'll be right back.
For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey.
Life comes at you fast and it can hit hard. Apply for the Credit Union Prepaid MasterCard from CNWJ with chip and PIN protection. Need a card with a personal line of credit for emergencies? We have that. Need a card you can use to shop online for that must-have item? We have that. The community and workers of Jamaica Prepaid MasterCard. All the convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the benefits of belonging.
For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey. For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey.
Boy, me lose my land and all of my livestock take a bushfire. It left me on my face.
Protect the land. Respect the warning. The time by Jamaicans Against Bushfires, JAB, is...
And welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. It is 3 minutes past the hour of 6. We are speaking to Feliciano Thorpe, and he's talking to us about anger in men. Sir Feliciano.
Yes, sir.
Before we left, we were speaking about how men tend to have this socialization, which says, anger is wrong, one, or anger is just the way that you react to certain stuff. And we see it coming out in music and in other ways. How can a man or his family, those close to him, identify when he is angry, and I'm guessing this is the toxic anger. How can they help him to identify that?
When he's getting when the aggression becomes violent, um, ways they can really help him is really talk to him. I mean, there's nothing better than a family doing family time and talking. Because if your family, you must can speak to them about what they once the anger is becoming destructive and it's harming himself and harming the family. Um, you can ask for help from the church, maybe pastor. 'Cause if the wife feels that, or the girlfriend feels that she's not reaching him, reach out. There's so many social restoration justice organizations that deal with mediation. There could be men group at the churches that a man from the church could come and speak to him and break it down. Because maybe listening to another man, you might get a different response. And I would say to the wife, get help, because maybe you have been trying and it just not working or getting through to him. And it is best maybe to get some help to try and help him to see that his anger is getting the best of him and affecting the family.
So before he begins to show outward signs, before he begins to hit, before he begins to use those words which are really cutting,
Yes.
is there anything that you can look at somebody and say, well, I haven't seen any of the violence coming out yet, but I can tell that you don't have your anger under control? Are there any signs or telltale signs of these?
Oh, that's a hard question because
Okay.
anger is such a unique emotion. The problem is that because how we view anger in only one dimension, which is the one that is lashed out, the one that is seen, because there's passive aggression. I guess from a passive perspective, you could say, okay, you're not being assertive enough, because some of the reasons why we're angry, like I think you were talking about back, what are some of the things that trigger us as men to become angry, and I want to touch on that. Worry. You're worrying too much about something and you're not unpacking that worrying or dealing with it in a constructive way that can fuel your anger. Losing patience with a situation. As men, you know that when we drive and somebody bad driving, that's when you see the anger. Or, if you're riding on a bike or a bicycle, that's when you see it. So we're losing patience. Feeling unappreciated. Men don't like to feel unappreciated. Women, their secret, men do not like to feel unappreciated. And that can trigger anger. All right. Injustice against yourself. Maybe you don't feel you're getting the kind of pay, or somebody did something to you. So these are some grief can also cause anger. Loss of not having your father in your life, because that was one of my issues. Neglect can cause anger because my father wasn't in my life. I interpret that he didn't love me, and I got angry as a result, and I started to act out because I didn't know how to handle that situation. Eventually, I found that he actually really loved me, but anger can cause you not to think clearly. And this is why you need somebody to help you, kind of unpack that emotion and help you to say, hey, this is not really the true picture of everything. So, yeah, so these are some of the feelings, some of the things that can trigger us as men to feel angry. Going back to that.
When we talk about talking to a man, because I think you've mentioned a couple times that we need to unpack certain stuff, and probably that sounds like talking. So
Yeah.
if a man isn't really the talking type,
Yeah.
it's a two-part question. If a man isn't the talking type, what else can he do to regulate his anger and to unpack? And the other question is, how does one talk to an angry person? Because I'm guessing if this person is a really violent person when they get angry, it seems a bit risky to go to them and say, brother, say I have an anger problem, lest they get
Yes.
angry at you and things just
Yes,
get
in
out of
that
control.
moment to say that might not be the best thing to say. The first question, repeat the first question again, please. I didn't quite.
Right. So I'm asking if the man isn't the talking type, how is
Mhm.
he going to
Yes,
find other means to unpack?
very, very important. Men will naturally show you how they deal with their anger. Men, one of the ways that men deal with their anger is to exercise, working out. I do that personally. And it is very good at helping you to manage that. And it's also very healthy.
Mhm.
So that's one of the ways. Men, as you can see, our dancehall music is quite colorful. They are expressing through that medium constructively, maybe how they feel about the injustice in the society or how they feel about what's happening to them. Music is a way that men usually use. Men are, men are very fight over their music, you know that. So
Mhm.
music is something that really helps them to maybe calm down, help them to express their emotion in a healthy and constructive way. Another way, men tend to be very artistic. Some you do it do artwork. They can paint. Men are very, what they call physical. So maybe they're going to clean the yard, cut the yard down. You know what I mean? These are some of the ways that they might express or learn to unpack. Or sometimes when they get angry, they say, "Look here, I leave in the house right now. I soon come back." So they're taking a walk out. You see men doing those kind of things. Yes.
And even as you mentioned, those seem that we can use them also as signs of anger. So if you're a wife, if you're a child, if you're a girlfriend, and you see, at certain points you're having some discussion, and all of a sudden the man, say, "Me soon come back," or him go find something to do in the yard, or he does something. He's like, "Okay, cool." When I can tell that he's angry because certain stuff seems to pop up each and every time. But can a wife or girlfriend or family member take comfort in the fact that every time he's angry, he just goes and exercises? I never hear anything. He never really talks to me. I don't know how to help him because all he does is go and exercise. He may not be angry when he comes back, but it doesn't put me in a better position to help him the next time.
Yes, this is where we as men have to we have to understand that our wives are very different from us. And we have to come to a point where we talk, or I would call it talk therapy. All right. We have to deal with the issues. And you can't always run away. Walking away is good, but you have to face the music sometimes. And that is very important interpersonal skill that many of us as men sometimes we haven't really learned because in our mind we might think it is soft. That's not how we deal with it. And sorry, unfortunately, our culture sometimes feed this kind of stereotype upon us as men that are not supposed to talk things through. But there's a reason, God gave us 2 ears and one mouth. There's a reason. And we need to be angry, but do not sin, as the Bible says. So you can't just, if your wife wants to talk about something and that irritates you and gets you anger, provokes you to anger, you walk away. You should only use the walk away as a tool to calm down and then think creatively how you can engage your wife in a meaningful conversation to help deal with that issue that maybe she wants to deal with.
So, to a man listening out there now, what are some ways that he can use to train himself? Because I'm guessing there's somebody listening in, there's somebody watching on YouTube or Facebook, and they think, okay, I realize that I do that exercise, working out sort of vibe. How can he now train himself to respond well and to verbalize what's really happening? Because I think some men probably need a little tip for helping them to begin to express how they feel so that their wives can be in a better position. Wives or anybody around them for that matter, because it could be on the job as well. So help them to know certain ways of easing into the conversation of what
Um,
may be a very difficult situation?
One of the ways is assertive training. A lot of us, even us as men, we do not know how to ask for what we want, and we do not know how to really communicate how we feel in a way that is not deemed offensive and brought across in a negative way. And assertive training will help us to know exactly how to enter into a situation and how to communicate how we feel and ask exactly what our how or express that I didn't like how you spoke to me with this way. It really caused me to feel angry, and and this is what I prefer you do because I didn't feel very good about how you handled the situation. So instead of just swearing so assertive training is one of the ways I believe. Very important. Know yourself. Learn. Very critical. Self-awareness is very important when you're dealing with anger because you have to know what is triggering you. If you don't know what is triggering you, you won't learn to control it. For me, I realized that for me, um, my father neglect was a problem and I had unforgiveness. Understand? So unforgiveness. So I know I had to deal with that. And it took me quite a while to deal with that because I just never want to forgive him, I didn't want to forgive him. I felt that was my right to hang on to that. So, but that only fueled the anger and the rage, and it can become very destructive to me personally and to those who are around me. So once I learned how to forgive and release that, I did that because I'm a Christian. I released that through prayer and meditation. And as a matter of fact, the research nowadays, meditation has taken off in the psychological field because they are recognizing the power of meditation. And as Christians, we have that. That is something that the Bible says we must meditate on His word. So, because when you meditate, you actually is rewiring your mind. It's almost like you're hacking your mind or preparing your mind for any future event. But if you meditate on the scripture, be angry and do not sin, and you constantly meditating on that, what do you think is going to happen when you come in an angry situation? That your brain is going to remember that. So meditation and prayer is a very important, and don't underestimate prayer and meditation. It might sound simple, but it is not a simple thing. The word of God is very true, and with God's help, if you're struggling with chronic anger, you're gonna need God because the source of that could be unforgiveness. The source of that could be trauma. The source of that could be maybe stress. The source of that could be feeling unappreciated. The source of that is that you feel demeaned. The source of that you may be angry about how your life turned out.
Question.
Yes.
Right, thank you. I noticed that you are pointing at different means that we can use, and some of these are, I guess, spiritual means. What about that unsaved man? And he's concerned, well, he isn't concerned, but his family or his friends are concerned, and they're saying, you know what, you've never done anything to us, you've never hit us, you've never used any aggressive thing that makes us feel concerned for our own safety. But so when time we drive with you or when somebody diss you or something, we don't see it say X or Y, and we realize that that may be an issue. How could they convince him and even themselves, because they may not think it's an issue since he has never been violent toward them? How can they help themselves and him to get convinced that they really need to seek help, although it has never hit home for them?
In that context, the one thing you bring it to his attention, because a lot of times when we don't know ourselves very well, this is why we need family and good friends to be very frank and honest with us, to be our mirror, and is to bring it to his attention in a very, what I'd say, loving way. Because if you truly love this individual, you're going to bring that to his attention. So if he's having issues when he's driving and he's losing control, because It's not very good to be very angry when you're driving. Not at all.
And suppose he says, but I just saw mistake. I know nothing really. How do we
Well, I always say to people, look here, you have two mindsets towards any situation. You have a fixed mindset and you have a growth mindset. We can all grow and change no matter what or improve on anything. A lot of times Jamaican will say, I saw me born, my auntie did angry, my uncle, my grandpa, my uncle. But that's really a fixed mindset mentality. And that will hold you back from, really maximizing your potential. And the same things apply when it comes to anything like anger. If you have a growth mindset and you really put into practice constructive ways of dealing with it, like assertive training, reading more about self-awareness and applying self-awareness skills, growing, developing your interpersonal skills and developing your intrapersonal skills, which is along, because you have to develop a healthy relationship with yourself first. So loving yourself. So if you truly love yourself, you're going to try and improve. So, that's one of the ways, yes.
So I'm hearing you saying that one of the selling points that we must use is to say, here what, brethren, this will make you better. And when he hears that it's going to make him better, then all of a sudden say, look like say makes sense. So that seems to be a good point. Friends, family members, use that line. Brethren, getting your anger under control is going to make you better, leveling up. So, yes. Friends, I hope you haven't forgotten. We're asking what triggers the violent side of your anger, and you can respond to us via social media. WhatsApp text or voice notes no longer than 30 seconds can be sent to 997, remember the 876, 997-3125. You can call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8328, and you can post and comment on YouTube or Facebook. Let me also encourage you to friend us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries, at FLM Family Life Ministries. Follow us on Instagram at FLMJA and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. The numbers for the FLM head office are 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. We're heading to a break. Join us as we continue.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Get ready for another Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One. February 1, 2 o'clock will be time for prayer blast. More prayer, more power. 2:15 inside the evidence. Sister Vanessa joins us to share her powerhouse testimony of God's consistent provision. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with author, certified life coach, marriage officer, public theologian, and investment consultant, Reverend Teddy Asiel Jones. All this and more will come your way inside Alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, ranking number 4 in the extensive local radio landscape and number 1 in gospel. Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey. For nearly 100 years, Massey has served its customers and communities with heart and innovation. Now, built on a more strategic model, Massey is poised for growth and committed to powering change across the region and the globe. Their next big move is the cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now, this household name can become part of your portfolio, giving you access to diversified investments and competitive dividends. One stock, multiple portfolios. Massey.
Welcome back to Family Time. We are here speaking to Feliciana Thorpe, counselor, tutor of psychology, and mental health advocate. Our topic has been anger in men. Sir Thorpe, we know that men have struggles and that men need help. You'd have touched on the fact that the church can do something.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about what specifics churches can do, because I'm sure a pastor is listening in and he wants to attract more men to the church and he wants to have tools to help men who've had, a rough time when they come in. So what can the church do? And what other entities do you think need to get involved to curb the violent nature of anger in our society?
Well, first of all, I would say I'm a product of the church. I came into the church pretty angry. Yeah, I didn't even know I was so angry. But the church can become an outlet in dealing with that constructively. And just thinking about it, I think the church has tremendously influenced and helped me to develop self-regulation skills in dealing and managing my anger. Just the mere thought of the scriptures, understanding how the scriptures saw anger, the good and the bad, and just understanding that as a young man I can learn, and getting involved in these activities like various ministries, sports and games, and the church has really given me an outlet in helping me to develop a sense of worth, learning how to love yourself as a man, learning how to appreciate yourself, understanding that God loves you as a man, that God is your father. That has just brought some paradigm shifting in how I see and view myself. So that has really tremendously helped me personally. So the church can create an environment where men can come and find a safe place to come and unpack some of the struggles that they're going through that has caused them to become angry. And this is where the church now, I believe, needs to tie in both counseling along with the Christian ethic and principle, because some men are going to need the counseling aspect, because maybe they haven't really learned, or this what we call in church discipleship. Maybe they haven't really learned how to manage that, and they're going to take a while for them to retrain themselves in managing that. So that's one of the ways. Thus create an environment where, as I say, they feel safe enough to come. But that's one of the things that the church that I was at, we had a men's group. Men like to meet with other men to talk about what is going on with them. Just like how men meet at the bar and then talk about issues, only things maybe unhealthy ways. We as a church, the church has created many platforms like that where men come and they unpack their issues to other men, and other men pray for them, other men encourage them, other men keep them accountable. And other men mentor them, and that can be very tremendous and life transforming for a man, especially a man who's struggling with anger issues.
Right. Thank you. So we are seeing some comments. So let me read some of those Facebook and WhatsApp comments that I am seeing from Mrs. Audible. So she says, my anger is triggered when persons intentionally hurt me or they hurt vulnerable persons. It just get me cross. So that's coming from a lady there. None from the men just yet. Is there any Facebook post for us at this time? Shalom or peace, Israelite. Oh, he's telling shalom. Family and church blessing. So Ephesians 4, from the KJV, verse 26. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down on your wrath. So we're getting that one from White Shan. Pardon me, I just not seeing that properly. So Den says, good evening, watching from Florida. So grateful for this needed topic. I was once married to an angry man, Marine veteran, who almost killed me. Guess he had PTSD. Happy you survived that violent situation. Thank you all for your comments. There's one more. Marlene Da Costa. Any man angry with his mother will get angry with his wife. And some of us women angry, but can calm ourselves better than the men. All right, Marlene. Our men need training. Thank you very much, Marlene. Sir Thorpe, any final comments on tips for helping, especially when it comes to, so we can say men are at a level, but what about the boys? How can a single mother help her son who she realizes is getting down that anger path? How can she help him to be assertive in his anger? I'm using the term. I'm learning.
Well, when it comes to boys, you know that I'm a school counselor. So for me, check the school counselor. Please go to the school and meet with the counselor and get an appointment if you realize your son is getting out of control. Because children are still developing, especially when you're a teenager, you're still developing your self-regulation skills. And they may not really know how to deal with that emotion constructively. So check the counselor. If you are associated with a church, have a meeting with the pastor or some male, because a male presence is so important, especially when they're in around that age of adolescence or almost close to adolescence, like 10, 11, 12. A positive male influence has been tremendous for me personally. I didn't have a father, and the many men from the church has tremendously impacted and influenced the kind of man I am today. So that can also be mentorship. So a single mom can look for that. Mom, you can do your own research. Look on creative way, conflict resolution skills. Conflict resolution, and you can teach him these things like I statements. I felt this way, teach him these skills and how he can use them to deal with his anger in an appropriate way or to express it in an appropriate way. Because sometimes they don't know the difference. And in our society, sometimes there's a thin line between what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And sometimes they have to be taught that. All right. Don't just think that they know better. They might really don't know better.
All right.
Yes. So for that, for the mother, yes. As it concerns the men learn to develop your ability to engage in dealing with your women and your children, and it's very important that you learn how to do that as a man. Yes, use the tools like exercise, deep breathing exercises to calm down yourself, take a walk, maybe go talk it out with a brethren with a drink. But during that process, think of how you can go home and talk to your children and talk to your wife, because a problem is there and you need to solve it. And it's not going to go away until you address it. And my encouragement to the men is that you can overcome anger. You can manage anger. Anger does not have to control you. You are in charge of that emotion, and you can use the skills out there to practice self-regulation.
All right. So we have one voice that we'll take before we have the wrap up. Sir Thorpe, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. We'll take that voice now.
To you all. I've been listening. I think the church been doing a tremendous job. Mentor the young men, try to get them into Sunday school, get them to come to church to listen. If they are not listening, what can you do? What will we do? Sometimes we offer them money. It depends on how much they get. They don't want to listen. So what do you do? The church can only do so much and no more. God bless you. I'm listening.
Thank you, Sir Sub. I'm happy that you'd have responded to that one. So we definitely have some tips there for her. Everyone, for those of us who may have questions of a personal nature or a concern about a friend or a family member who is angry, call us at Family Life Ministries, or if they're having any other emotional dysfunction. For our center in Portmore at 117 Cecil Avenue, call 876 939 7917. For more information on our services and for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 876 920 1034 or 876 926 8101. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the office. You can't just walk in. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and our programs, find us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries, on Instagram at FLMJA, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before we leave, you know we have to give you a verse. Today's verse comes from Proverbs 15, verse 18. A hot tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention. Let's meditate on that one. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM and all our platforms for family time. Thanks again to our guest Feliciana Thorpe. Thanks to our show producer Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator Timoy Butler, and of course, thanks to you. I'm Sir Twain. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay well, and stay blessed. Have a good evening.
Need to fill your prescription.